Welcome to the Navigating Your Life show. I'm your host, Nat Williams. Tonight we're going to be discussing how we can take action in making our own footprint. We recently went out into the field to meet with Zach Ibrahim and Sharon Matson to share with us their story on how they were making a change in their own lives, and here's what they had to say. We're here today with Zach Ibrahim and Sharon Matson to talk about their story, and the focus is making your own footprint. So welcome, Zach.
Thank you very much.
And welcome, Sharon.
Thank you.
Good. So Zach, you have a very interesting story. I was reading the paper recently and saw that they did a highlight of you and your story. So why don't you share with our viewers what your story is?
Sure. Well, in 1990, when I was 7 years old, my father assassinated Rabbi Meir Kahana. He was head of the Jewish Defense League, which at the time was described as the largest terrorist organization operating inside the United States at the time. He initially was acquitted of the murder, but he was found guilty of lesser gun and assault charges. And so he was serving a sentence in Rikers Island, as well as Attica State Penitentiary, where we visited him often.
And those are both prisons inside of New York?
That's correct, yes. While in prison, he stayed in communication with many members of what turned out to be an al-Qaeda cell operating inside of New York City. They had frequent visits and telephone calls. The main leader of that cell was a blind sheikh by the name of Omar Abdurrahman, who became very well known as the mastermind of the '93 bombing of the World Trade Center. While he was in prison, it was said that he helped orchestrate the attack as well as helped plan further attacks. They were hoping to bomb several landmarks inside of New York City, including United Nations headquarters, several synagogues, as well as the Holland Tunnel and Lincoln Tunnel. And so from a very young age, I was kind of thrust into this very politically charged environment. And so as an adult, trying to come to terms with all of those things, it's led me down a very interesting path as far as self-realization.
So why don't you tell us more about that? As you said, from a very early age, you're exposed to some pretty hostile feelings, and I think that you've attempted to take it in a different direction. So why don't you share with our viewers what you've done?
Well, ultimately, being raised with such an extremist ideology, once I was older and I had allowed myself to enter the world a bit more and interact, I realized that a lot of things that I was taught were in fact nonsense. And for instance, I was taught throughout my childhood that homosexuality was an absolute sin, and anyone that you met who was homosexual was a bad person and they were going to hell. And once I'd grown up a little bit and I actually met some gay dancers actually at an amusement park that I was working at in Florida.
Wow.
They were some of the most considerate, non-judgmental people that I'd ever met. And so at that time I was forced to confront a lot of these lessons that I'd been taught as a child. And from there I came to the realization that the only way to really judge someone is to look at their character and not base it on things like religion or race or sexual orientation.
So to go a little deeper in looking at a person, just looking at the surface, and just because you can check off one box doesn't mean that all the other boxes will then follow that.
Exactly. That the generalization is often incorrect, and that in order to be able to judge someone, you really need to get to know them personally.
Sure.
So I try in my own life not, to hold judgment until I've actually got a chance to get to know someone better.
And so when people have met you and they know the history of your dad, what has that been like in just navigating your own life? How has that worked for you?
One of the more egregious times that I'd actually outed myself to someone, I actually had a knife pulled on me. And the person said that they'd be doing this country a favor if they were to gut me. And luckily I managed to escape the situation without being harmed, although I did get a cut across my hand when I tried to grab the knife from him. But overall, though, the the majority of people have been very understanding, and they realize that I am not responsible for my father's actions, and so I think overall it's been a pretty positive experience.
And so how have you attempted to leave a different kind of legacy for yourself and I guess potentially your family? And we'll talk with Sharon in a few minutes about your future relationship. But what have you attempted to do with your life that's been different than what your dad did?
Well, for one, I've been trying to share some of the stories, some of the experiences that I had as a child, realizing all of the hate that went along with. For instance, I'll give you an example. During the initial trial after the rabbi was murdered, there were fights outside of the courtroom constantly between the men on one side that supported my father and the men on the other side that supported the rabbi. And so from a very young age, it was ingrained in me that there's a great deal of hostility and that people involved in this extremist activity are very quick to become violent. And so in my attempts to try and be different from them, I've kind of always shunned violence. In fact, in school, I used to have a lot of trouble with bullying. And many times I'd get into a fight and I would just refuse to fight back because I was just very much anti-violence.
Wow.
And the only way really to try and heal the situation is to create a dialogue between two people who will not talk to each other. And I think that creates empathy, which is probably our most important tool with regarding fighting tolerance or intolerance rather.
Good. And Sharon, you are his fiancée.
Yes.
And so, with a gentleman with such an interesting history, how do you envision your future, and how has the current situation been for you so far?
It's very surreal. I love Zach. Zach is one of the most amazing people that I've met. But his background, I mean, it's a doozy. The reason why I can be with Zach is because he has overcome a lot and he is trying to make a difference. And just seeing the difference from when we first started dating to when he decided he was going to come out and tell people who he was, because he's kept it a secret for so long, he has actually become empowered. I mean, he even carries himself a little bit differently. It's going to be an interesting road, I think, but if he can help people through his lectures, I think it's going to be amazing.
Sure, there's no question.
It's a good message.
Okay. Sharon, in getting ready to close our show, I want to give you an opportunity to share some of your thoughts, and then Zach, I'll ask you to do the same. So Sharon, please share any of your closing thoughts with our viewers.
I guess I just have to say that with my relationship with Zach, I've learned a lot. I've learned just a lot about different cultures, a lot about different religions that maybe, I mean, as a person normally wouldn't have experienced, and just overcoming any preconceived notions that I might have had. And there were many, and I consider myself a very open-minded person, but it really has broken down some of the stereotypes, so I just think it's important to be open to that.
Very good. Well, thank you for sharing, Sharon. And Zach, any closing thoughts you'd like to share?
Well, I'd just like to make one main point, which is basically that you are not your environment. And even if you come from a background of domestic violence, for instance, it doesn't mean that you have to repeat that same circumstance in your life. My main goal is hopefully to show people that although you may have experienced certain hardships in your life, those things don't need to continue, and that you are very much capable of taking things into your own hands and hopefully changing the environment that you've become accustomed to.
Good. Right. So if people wanted to reach out to Sharon or you and have a chance to hear what you had to say as you roll out your lectures in the fall, how would they be able to contact you?
Well, they can contact me through my website, which is zachibrahim.com.
Okay.
Also, if they were interested, they could check out a speech, my first speech, that I gave at the Student Peace Alliance's National Convention on YouTube. And
Okay.
you just type my name in and it should be the first thing that pops
Wonderful.
up.
Well, good. Well, thank you both so much for coming in and sharing your story. I think it's very powerful. And again, if anyone's making their own footprint, I think definitely Sharon and Zach, you guys are as well.
Well, it was our pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Zach.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good. Thank you so much to Zach and Sharon for sharing their stories with us. We're now going to take a short break, so please stay with us. We'll be right back.
It's about changing the world in which we live.
It's about playing, living, and working together.
It's about escaping from special programs.
It's about finding leadership.
And social justice.
The Pennsylvania Developmental Disabilities Council believes that disability is a natural part of the human condition.
We are working to create a commonwealth where all people thrive in shared citizenship.
And everybody wins.
Enrich your life at Sacred Heart Villa, situated atop Mount St. Michael on 40-plus scenic acres. Our caring staff includes missionary sisters and on-site licensed nurses 24/7. We offer medical reminders as well as dispensing medication and transportation to medical appointments. With excellent food, fun events, a spacious hall, safe rooms, and much more, your life will be enriched. Call 610-929-5751 or go to sacredheartvilla-readingpa.org.
Ready for some fun? FunWorks assists individuals with and without disabilities to participate in community activities. These activities are provided in small settings for 1 to 8 individuals with at least 1 to 2 direct support professionals. We visit places like Dollywood, Willow Valley Inn, Phillies Games, Iron Pigs Games, the Lehigh Valley Zoo, and more. Let us know your dream trip. Our staff is dedicated to ensuring your dream activities come true. For more information, call 888-966-9466 or visit funworksinc.org.
So we're here with John Lahutsky.
Hi, Dr. Williams.
Hi, how are you?
Thank
Good.
you so much.
Well, my understanding from an article I read in the Philadelphia Inquirer was that you wrote a book about your story.
Yes, I did.
And making a footprint for yourself.
Yes, I did.
So this book came out in October of 2009, and it's
Yes.
titled A Boy from Baby House Number 10.
Yes.
So tell us a little about what the story's about and what your story is about.
I was born in 1990 in Russia, in Moscow, Russia.
Wow.
And I was born premature at 24 weeks.
Wow.
2 pounds and 12 inches long. And then I was abandoned at 18 months, and I would spend 9 years in an orphanage.
Wow.
In between there, I spent 6 months in a mental asylum.
Wow. But I understand in 1999 you made yourself here, made your way over to the United States
Yes.
via your mom. So tell us about that.
My mom saw the bulletin in '98, and
This is a church bulletin, right?
yes, and she said, "I think I know his condition. I can help him. I can be a very good parent."
Wow. That's
And she said, I'm not usually a risk taker, but I'll take my chance and have God guide me.
That's wonderful, and I think God has done so very
Yes.
well. So you've been here for 10 years?
Yes.
And how has it been for you?
It's been wonderful. I'm a junior at Freedom High School.
Wow.
I'm a Boy Scout. I'm working on my Eagle project.
So wow, very good.
Yeah.
The focus of our show today is people making their own footprint and definitely overcoming challenges. And it seems, John, like you've done that.
Yes.
Why was that an important thing for you to recognize you had some challenges earlier, but move on with your life? Why was that important to you?
I knew I had to put my past behind, because I wanted to make a brighter future for myself and other children as well.
That's wonderful. And how do you see yourself giving back to others?
Through my Eagle project, I'm hoping to send clothing to Eastern Europe and orphanages and giving back that way, and hopefully someday with my job be able to afford to set up a foundation for
That's wonderful. Wonderful.
orphans.
There you go. And so other moms that are out there or dads that are out there that would like to reach out and to make a difference, but other people that have experienced some challenges, what would you say to them to give them some words of wisdom and encouragement?
I would like to say that if parents want to adopt, please do so. And it's a rewarding process, but it's a hard process. But it'll help the child to really succeed and help organizations that help the children to survive and do a lot better.
It seems like you also were very blessed by having a mom who really
Yes.
bent over backwards to make a home for you.
Yes.
So what do you think of that?
Oh my goodness, I can't even thank my mom for so many things that she's done and the support and making me who I am today as a young man, and I can't even repay her in a lot of ways.
Wow, you're very lucky and you're very special.
Yes. I am.
Why do you think your mom did what she did?
Because she has worked. She understood my condition. I have cerebral palsy, and she has worked with kids. She's volunteered with the group United Cerebral Palsy.
Sure.
And so she understood what would be best for me, and she knew where I could do the best.
Wow. And I'm sure when she saw that in the church bulletin, I'm sure she thought God was talking to her.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good. That's wonderful. Very good. And what would you want our other viewers who may hear of individuals who have had some challenges in their life and trying to help them make a different footprint? And that's the whole focus of our show, is trying to help people, recognize that sometimes our situations that we're given are very challenging, but there's some things you can do on your own or with the help of others to make a different kind of footprint. So what would you share with our viewers as they're thinking about making some changes for themselves or trying to help someone else make a change?
If you have rough times, just never give up, and that's my motto, and I always stick by it.
There you go. That's wonderful. It looks like it served you very well.
Yes,
Very
it
good.
has.
Well, John, I thank you so much for opening up your home and for allowing us to spend some time with yourself and your mom and your dog, who's been very quiet.
Thank you.
So we
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. So thank you so much, John.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You choose your doctor. You choose your pharmacy. Why shouldn't you choose your in-home healthcare provider? The good news is you can and you should. When your hospital or doctor prescribes home care, Alan Lear Home Care Associates will work with you in the comfort of your own home, providing a full range of services. Our nurses are dedicated professionals that take the time to get to know you and help you return to your optimal health. Call Alan Lear Home Care Associates, caring for you when you need us most.
Explore Dr. Nat Williams' Absolutes of Success book series featuring The Navigator of Life, The Mature 64, Living Life 8x8, Management and Leadership by the 3 Ps, The Affordability Factor, The 4 C's of Change, Embracing Your Real Life, and the Absolutes of Success series workbook, Maximizing Your Greatest Potential to Achieve Your Personal Best. All books available at drnatwilliams.com or amazon.com.
At Bridge to Creative Learning and Child Care Center, your child will learn and play the creative way in a safe and secure environment. We offer a fun and caring educational-based atmosphere and allow parents to monitor their child's activities. We are a state-licensed child care center offering academic preparation, after-school programs, creative learning, summer activities, and much more. Call us at 610-351-7400. Prepare your child for a brighter future.
Welcome back to the Navigating Your Life show. We have with us now 2 entrepreneurs who are going to talk to us about how they have made their own footprint. So we have Dr. Yuri Staskal and we have Charlie Cerati.
Thanks for having us.
So, Yuri, we're going to start with you first. I understand your company's name is Cetra Language Solutions, and what does your company do?
Our company provides language services, that is translation, interpretation services, anything that involves foreign languages, to the federal government and to businesses in the area.
And what made you decide to do that?
Well, it's a long story. I'll try to make it short. I have worked as a translator myself for a long time after coming to the United States to support myself and my studies. And one day I got an enormous job from a local law firm that just couldn't handle myself. So I incorporated the next day, hired a lot of people, and got going.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
Wow. And so you came here at what age to the United States?
I came here, I was 27 when I came here. I'm a political refugee from former Czechoslovakia.
Okay. So you definitely have made your own footprint.
I suppose.
Wow, for sure. Wowee. And we also have with us Charlie Cerati. And Charlie, you have a company called Green and Save. And Charlie's only been with us a couple of minutes, but he has replaced our light bulbs and our batteries and everything else around here. So Charlie, tell us about your company and what you do.
Absolutely. We're a national energy reduction company, and in a time when the focus has now shifted towards conservation, not just from the environmental standpoint, but from the cost and operational saving standpoint, we found in my 2-decade career, the popularity has increased. And when you can have a conversation with a CFO about saving 50 to 80% on the electricity through smart, intelligent LED lighting, and you can simultaneously have a conversation with a director of sustainability about removing millions of pounds of CO2 because we're not burning the coal, you're making friends inside some major corporations.
Sure.
And we go on to look at all the other tactical ways that businesses can save money and the environment. Green and Save is about both. And start with the lighting because the payback has a 1 or 2 year payback in many cases. And it's a way to get traction.
So within a year or two,
That's
it pays for itself.
And
with lighting.
With 24-hour operation of stair towers and emergency lighting, some lobbies and various operations, we start with the low-hanging fruit. We look as detectives to find the way to save businesses dollars first, and then start a multi-year conversation about how to keep advancing that cause.
Good. And others who are thinking about ways in which to take a bad situation or a situation that's challenged and to turn it into something positive, what is your words of wisdom to them as a way of overcoming some of the things that people are dealing with?
I just wouldn't say no for an answer. When I lived in Austria before I came here, and I did not know much about educational system in the States and whatnot. So I went to the embassy in Vienna and just looked up what I thought was the best school in the area. So I thought I will apply there. That's what I did, and
persistence paid off.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow. So I think it's so important for people to recognize, and I'd like to hear your thoughts about this, about that first step and how important that is. Yeti, what are your thoughts about how important it is to get started?
Well, for me it was such a tremendous opportunity because I was still at school at that time, and I was working as a freelancer. And when this opportunity came along, I just had to do something because I came to the interview not quite knowing, with the law firm, not quite knowing what to expect, and then they told me, we have 30,000, 50,000 pages materials to translate, if I could help them out. So I had to think quick, and so I said, of course, and presented myself as a company already then, and I just started the company the next day.
Wow.
But through my networking efforts in the past, I knew a lot of translators throughout the United States and Canada and elsewhere, so I was able to assemble the team very quickly.
Yeah. Wow, that's outstanding. Charlie, what are your thoughts about that first step?
I think it's about a tenacity and a hunger. I know from personal experience, often I think some of the most successful entrepreneurs have not necessarily written a business plan, but have found a need that they can fill. I spent 3 years researching the tactics to make my home just outside of Philadelphia one of the most energy efficient homes in the country, and had 14 binders of research, all the data of the return on investment information to prove to my wife that we would really invest and get a return. Well, after poking around on the web and looking at so many pages of content, I realized there was no ranking system. You might see an ad on TV for a light bulb that was a smart CFL and then a Prius hybrid car. Well, one's a few dollars and the other's 30 grand. And you realize there was no sense of when and how those come back. We launched in 2007 the very first comprehensive return on investment ranking system for home and then commercial optimization. And it was so well respected, the National Association of Realtors asked permission to use it, the American Institute of Architects, LinkedIn, even bank chains like PNC Bank use it as a resource. So it was one of those things where it came from knowing that we wanted the information as a family for my practice as an architect, and then sharing it. And it wasn't about necessarily knowing how to make money from that act. It was knowing there was some demand that we could help fulfill.
And I think both of you mentioned that in your commentary, is that there was a need, and you took that need, Yiddy and Charlie, and you ran with it. And I think that's the piece that if I hear you saying very clearly, both of you, is that if you could recognize that you need it, most likely others are going to need it as well. Well, good. Well, thank you, Yiddy and Charlie, for joining us today. You've been a great guest, and thank you so much. So now we're going to take a break. When we come back from this commercial, we'll wrap up today's show. So please stay with us.
In these challenging times, your organization needs employees that maximize results. HumanWorks Training and Educational Services provides results-focused seminars for your staff. Topics include management and motivating employees, stress management, team building and leadership skills, and cultural diversity. Register today, just $89.99 or $75 for chamber members. Call 484-893-5057 or visit hwtes.com.
Emery is a charming and friendly 13-year-old with many talents. His above-average artistic ability is displayed in his drawings, which are creative and impressive. He excels in basketball, which is his favorite sport, and dreams of one day playing in the NBA. His favorite foods include chicken, pizza, and Chinese. He is a good student, and with a little motivation, he could be on the honor roll. He would flourish in a home where the family is attentive, provides structure and discipline in a loving and supportive manner, and nurtures his creativity. For adoption information, please access the National Adoption Center's website at adopt.org. And for further specific information on Emery, please contact callen@adopt.org. We hope today's show has been enlightening, encouraging, and empowering for you. As we wrap up today's show, we want to let you know we're looking forward to having you join us next week when we'll be discussing codependency. Till then, be well. Thanks for watching.
A list of resources related to today's show is available on our website, which is navigatingyourlifeshow.com. On this site, there is a connection to our Facebook and Twitter pages and to our blog. While you are there, you can also email your comments on today's show or share ideas for future shows.